Hey, Zach here from Frontenac Outfitters Canoe and Kayak Center. Today, we are looking at the brand new Jackson Kayak Gnarvana Whitewater Creek Boat. This was just released from Jackson. Pretty stoked. There's a lot of hype about this boat. Some really good online footage from Dane Jackson himself, who had a lot of input on the design of this boat. If you're not familiar with Dane Jackson, I recommend that you YouTube some of his footage. Arguably one of the world's best whitewater kayakers right now, all around, whether it's running big volume rivers and creeks or freestyle boating. He is definitely the world's top whitewater kayaker. We were pretty excited to get our hands on this guy. This is the medium. It's going to be available in 3 sizes, which is awesome for a creek boat. Oftentimes we find that they'll leave the smaller paddler out and they have to kind of fit into a boat that might be a little too big for them. You know, they'll just do 2 sizes or sometimes even just 1 size. So having that offering of 3 different sizes, I think is huge to fit a wide range of boaters. Up at the front here, we've got a huge amount of bow rocker on here, and it's awesome. It really works well. The design purpose was so it would skip out over holes and not kind of plug into them, give you increased maneuverability on the river. But at the same time, the drawback is often that you lose speed. And I really didn't notice that on this. I've managed to get out in on a couple times, once on the lower Madawaska River, which is fairly intromediate.
Hold on, intromediate, that's good.
Intromediate, is that what I said?
I think you just coined a new word.
Coined a new word.
Intromediate, and that perfectly explains.
There you go, the intromediate. It's an intromediate river, which is a fairly beginner to intermediate style river. And it was really fun to get out there and paddle in those conditions. Then I also got to join Rob Yeager from Jackson Kayak and our good friend Ryan from the Paddler Co-op down on the Bottom Moose a couple weeks ago, and that's a fabulous river, class 4/5, more on the class 4 side of things at the level we were paddling at, which is just fine for me. That's it's a lot to bite off when you don't get into your whitewater kayak as much as you would like to. So it'd been a long time since I've been on that section of whitewater, and honestly, this boat definitely saved my butt a few times. It was easy to paddle, it was a lot of fun, and overall it was a great weekend. So having this upswept bow here, it gives it a lot of maneuverability. It was fairly easy to paddle, fairly easy to maneuver. The one downside I did find on it, and not necessarily a downside, is that it does require a lot of being in the driver's seat compared to some older style creek boats. You can't just kind of let it float down the river. You definitely need to be in control of it and keep that boat pointing where you want it to go. It does that job really, really well, but also those minor little tweaks can really change where you want to be on your line on the rapid, which I think is a great feature. Up top here, we've got a big heavy duty dedicated carry handle. You could clip into this to extract a boat, hoisting one up the side of the river, use it as a tie down point on top of the vehicle. Whatever. We have these channelized lines here, lots of bow flare too, to really keep this ride high and dry. And that's kind of what, Jackson was going for, is the high and dry side of things. And it definitely achieved that goal by far. We've got our extraction pin here. Again, attach a carabiner to that if you need to, pull the boat out of somewhere, if it gets pinned on the river, or just using it again to haul it up off the side of the river. We got a really flared out section here where our knees go. This is the medium. Normally I would paddle a large creek boat. I'm kind of right on the verge between going from a large to a medium. I found the medium really, really well. I'm at the top of the recommended weight range for it, but honestly, it didn't feel too small. If I was strictly paddling, really heavy class 5, big volume rivers, I'd probably opt for a large. But being on some more lower volume stuff in that class 3, class 4 range, I found the medium to be really fun to paddle. It floated me beautifully, and was really responsive to input, which I really enjoyed. Feels really sleek. I mean, it's a fairly wide boat, but the way that they've kind of shaped the deck here, I didn't have much issue, with the width of it, feeling like I was going to whack my knuckles off the side of the boat or anything like that. Incredibly stable. I mean, it was really, really interesting in that it feels like a fast boat. I think it is a fast boat, but the stability that is still offered on this thing, I mean, you can get it right up on its side and it just plops itself right back down again with just the lightest touch, you know, for a low brace or high brace, and it just rights it back up without, you know, feeling like it's going to completely capsize on you. Not to say that it won't. It does roll fairly easily, but fortunately, I didn't have to test that too many times while we were out on the river. That secondary stability, being able to get it up on its side, control those edges and those angles, felt really, really confidence inspiring, and ended up being a blast out on the water. Inside the boat, we have Jackson standard Unishock bulkhead. So, you know, what I really like about Jackson boats, they're so easy to set up. It's on a pull cord with a jam cleat, so you just pull that bulkhead. You may need to, if you've got long legs, you may need to trim that bulkhead to get the fit, you know, to get that bulkhead further down so your feet fit in it properly. Luckily for me, I can just hop in, push that basically as far as it goes, and that's a comfortable setup for myself. We have a pillar running all the way through here. That's going to create a lot of structural support, so in the event if it does get pinned up, it's not going to collapse the boat, and gives us that ability to get out of the kayak. In here, we've got a water bottle holder, and then on the bottom side, I mean, you can go vice versa. Easy access to a throw bag. Keep your water bottle close at hand as well. Utilizing Jackson's standard Sherlock back brace system. If you're not familiar with Jackson's boat, they come in all of them. I'm a big fan. I love how easy they are. They're very reliable. You just pull that into the center, press it into the jam cleat, press back into it, and that rope bites into that cleat. The other nice thing is they're so easy to, if you run into a problem, you know, if the cord wears out or breaks, it's so easy to pack a small repair kit to have extra rope with you. You know, you could, if something happens, you can just tie it off. On a ratchet boat, which don't get me wrong, I like ratchet systems too, but if they break on the river, much more difficult to try and fix, if not impossible. If you don't have those spare parts with you, you're out of luck. Nice comfortable seat, easily adjustable outfitting. These hip pads here, you would just cinch these guys off here, and there's a little pocket that you can tuck in shims if you want to tighten up the fit a little bit. Again, lucky for me, right out of the box, no shim pads needed. Just hop right in and go. The back band itself, you can raise in heights. You know, you can make some adjustments too as far as how that's going to sit. Lots of room in the back for gear. Again, if I was doing a multi-day trip, I'd probably opt for the large just so I'd have more space and more volume to float my weight as well as the gear. But for on the river, for day use, a couple of float bags in there. This was plenty of volume for my weight at about sitting around 205 right now. So really happy with the way that the medium held for me. One thing to note too around the combing is it's got this kind of rough, almost unfinished feeling texture. And I thought that was a really cool design, and they did do it on purpose, is when you attach your skirt, it's got that grippiness to it to really, you know, help hold the skirt in place, so it doesn't implode on you on a big impact or anything like that. Doesn't make it any harder to get on or off, but it definitely adds some, you know, some extra grip there, which I thought was a really neat consideration. Sliding a little further back, instead of the little pins that they had on the Gnarvana, they've gone with a full carry handle, which I think is great. Nice improvement, because this is a handle that we're often going to use to be able to grab the boat, get it up out of the river, getting it on top of a vehicle. So I think it just makes sense going with a slightly bigger handle as opposed to those pins. I don't think it looks any worse. Ultimately, I think function over fashion on this guy, much better. Kind of a really neat design and different than a lot of creek boats that we've seen in the past. How much stern rocker we have, so that again, that banana shape from the front to bow, or from the bow to the stern. Significant stern rocker on this, and I found it paddles a bit like a playboat. You know, it's really maneuverable. It turns on a dime, which again, I mean, it's both good and bad. I think as a more intermediate or advanced paddler, you're really going to appreciate that. Maybe as a beginner, it might feel a little overwhelming because it's going to be really hard to keep this kayak kind of paddling in the direction you want to go. Not to say a beginner can't get behind this boat, but just know that that's going to be, you know, that's going to be one of the things you're going to have to overcome is how to keep this boat paddling in the direction that you want it to go. Lots of volume here in the stern, you know, really kicks up, and the idea again is, you know, coming over hydraulics or holes, or, you know, if you're dropping off of ledges and stuff like that, is it's going to resurface really quickly, shed that water off, and get you paddling back down the river. We've got our stern carry handle, pretty basic. integrated carry handle, heavy duty, gets the job done. What I like here on our drain plug is actually recessed in so that it's not sticking out past the boat, which is a nice feature. If the boat takes a hit back here, it's not going to shear your plug off or cause any damage to that. Ideally, it's going to stay in that little insert, keep it protected and out of the harm's way. We've got our squared off stern, pretty common these days on most creek boats. They've gotten away from those kind of diamond shaped sterns. I'm not the designer. I don't know exactly what that benefit is other than keeping the kayak more efficient and keeping that speed up. All right. So having a look at the hull, as we can tell, this has definitely had some use. The beauty of a whitewater kayak is it only looks new for one day. Once you get it on the river, the scratches tend to pile up really, really quickly. So we can see the amount of rocker on this boat. You know, if I compared it to the Gnarvana had a decent amount of rocker, but this one certainly exaggerates that. And it does seem to be a bit of a trend that we're seeing in a lot of creek boats, going with these high rocker maneuverable kayaks as opposed to the older designs that were, you know, would hold a line really well, but they were really hard to move off that line once you had it set. They charged more like a tank, and this is, you know, definitely more of a nimble experience on the water. So we've got that semi-displacement hull up at the front, and then it kind of tapers into a more of a flat planing hull here in the cross section on the middle. Some nice deep side rails in here. So this is going to make releasing your edges really, really smooth and effective. And again, it works really well when you're in current and you get it up on edge. You can really maneuver the kayak in the direction that you want to go, and still creating a lot of stability with the way the side chine works. I don't know, it's a little magical in the way that these boats feel when you get them up on their edge, and they hold that edge so well. Yeah, not much else to say. It comes back to that significant stern rocker on there. Overall, really, really fun boat to paddle. So this is the Jackson Gnarvana, available in 3 sizes. It's going to be most suitable for, you know, if you're running more difficult whitewater, or if you're looking for a confidence-inspiring kayak, this is definitely going to be the one for you. I said earlier, the downside, a little harder to keep paddling in a straight direction, but in all honesty, it doesn't take much to get over that hump, and just keeping kind of an active blade in the water will really help that. For more information, check it out online at frontenacoutfitters.com. Send us an email or give us a call if you have any questions. If you want to take one for a test paddle, you can join us here on site at Frontenac Outfitters, or you can join us at one of the many events that we like to attend throughout the year. Thanks a lot for watching.